Okay, so people within the program feel protected from, the effects of what they're doing to other people. So they feel that this program will continue ad infinitum, I suppose.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. And that's a great point as well, and thanks for bringing it up. And that's kind of the point. That's why I call it a social engineering program and not just gang stalking or targeted individuals. Excuse me. The entire point of this social engineering program that has been researched and developed for decades now, the full intent within the program, everything that's planned going forward, the day-to-day attitude of all the people, is that this program is going to be rolled out nationwide, and it will become the norm. Every man, woman, and child in America will be under the influence of this technology. Every man, woman, and child in America will be one decision away from having gang stalkers turned against them. And the people making these decisions, of course, are not answerable to the American people. They were not elected. They did not pass any test or go through any gates of initiations to prove that they're worthy to have this responsibility. They just make the decision, and you're a TI, and that's it. It's very much like that. Or go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bryan. So this is really an important point you're making here. So rather than just the 1 or 2 million that you're talking about that are being affected, they are expecting to one day encompass the entire, 330 million people in the U.S. in this program?
Absolutely, yes. Every single man, woman, and child in the United States of America will be under the influence of this technology. And as you can see, going forward, what's going to happen is a dividing line is going to be drawn in America. And it's not going to be Democrat or Republican or black and white, rich, poor, Jew, Gentile, religious differences, whatever it is. It's going to be based on who is on the right and the wrong side of this technology, who is on the right and the wrong side of this program. And so if you are not a part of this program, then there is a very real risk that you are going to become a full-blown 24/7 targeted individual. And this technology at that point, when it is nationwide, will be used by automated supercomputer software programming that will manipulate the emotions and the behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America. And it can all be done remotely. It's very much like the microchip kind of tracking the New World Order, this entire, control grid that's supposed to be rolled out against the American people someday. And I'm here to tell you that it's already here. There isn't going to come a day where there's troops in the streets and tanks rolling down your neighborhood and riot gear and all this stuff. We might have isolated incidents like that. It might get like that every once in a while, but the true control grid is this technology, voice-to-skull, hive mind, behavior manipulation technology, and it can all be done remotely. It can be done simply by targeting you with the frequency, locking into the resonant frequency of your DNA and your mind, and in that manner completely track and trace and control you 24 hours a day. And so the dividing line is going to be between people on one side of this technology and people on the other. And so if you are a gang stalker right now, if you're in the private security industry, if you're in the military, intelligence, local state police, community watch groups, what have you, the reason so many people are joining into this, the reason so many people end up on that side of the fence is because it is the only game in town. There is one side, and you're either with us or you're against us. And so going forward, that's exactly what I had to think about when I decided to make this decision. That is exactly what went through my mind, and that's why it took me so long to decide what to do about this, because it is you are marking yourself. You are standing up and saying, hey, everybody, look at me. I don't like you. I don't like your program, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it shut down. And I was fully aware the entire time that I was thinking about doing that, exactly what was going to happen to me. They were going to torture me. They were going to destroy all my relationships with friends and family, and I was never going to be able to make a living again. And in my mind, it just came down to the victims. It came down to targeted individuals all over America who are suffering every single day, who are crying out for help, who are curled up in a ball in the corner in their bedroom in horrible physical pain and horrible emotional pain, and know that nobody will help them. Everybody calls them crazy. Everybody says, there's something wrong with them. Friends and family abandon them. Their relationships with their significant others are ruined. Their kids are taken away from them. And the homeless people in Seattle are now homeless. Some of the most brilliant men and women I've ever known in my life, as I got to know them, are now homeless, and they have no way to get out because the DESC is specifically going out of their way to make sure they can't get jobs and they can't find homes. So if a gang stalker wants to think about coming forward, this is the decision that they face. But, are you willing to risk everything to try to save this country, to try to save the individual out there who's on the receiving end of this program and is suffering and needs our help? And I'm hoping that by me coming forward and doing the best I can and for surviving as long as I can, I will inspire other insiders and give them the courage and the hope they need to make that decision as well, and see if we can't start making some progress against this thing.
Okay, excellent. Thanks so much for sharing all this, Bryan. This is exactly the type of information that we need to go forward and speak to the general public about what's ahead for them. And this program that is in operation right now in all cities across the U.S., all major ones at least, and many of the smaller ones. One thing I want to mention, and before I open the lines to the callers, because I know it's getting late, but and I'm sure they have thousands of questions as well. But what I see here is that there is an element that is recruiting perpetrators for this program, and then there's also the other side where they are roping people into this matrix every day. Is this something that you can speak to? How it's, are these numbers that are happening every day? Is this a reality that's happening every day?
Absolutely, yes, and that's a great way to describe it. What is going on in America today is exactly what you just said. Some people are being recruited into this program, and some people are becoming the target of this matrix system of technological and signal intelligence and human intelligence control of the individual and of society. And that is exactly what goes on within not only the private security industry, but the program as a whole in Seattle, and what was done to me after I decided to come forward. The choice is very clear. You're either with us or you're against us. And all of the resources that they cut you off from when you're a TI, like I am now as a whistleblower, the jobs that you can't get, the coworkers that you can't make friends with, the relationships you can't have with people, all of that you cannot have is exactly what the gang stalkers are being promised if they join. That's everything you can have and more. We're going to give you money. We're going to give you access to the finest women and the best drugs and the best connections and the best jobs and the best life that you can possibly imagine. You made it, and this is your ticket to the top, and you're going to come to the top with us. This is exactly what these people are being told. It is exactly why this seemingly inexplicable behavior by our fellow human beings, this is why it's happening, because they are being promised the sun, the moon, and the stars. They are being promised the opportunity to be a part of history, to be a part of the ruling class, to be a part of a system that is not defined by appearance of camo and military machine guns and the American flag and God bless America and all the stuff that you associate with power in America. These are people that look exactly like you and me. These are people that are wearing their hats backwards and baggy jeans. They're people that are dressed in modern attire. They're people that rock the modern vernacular and slang. These are people that go to the same bars and clubs that we do. These are the people that go to the same schools that we do. These are the people that watch the exact same videos on the internet that we do. They are like us in every single way. They are Americans first and foremost. And because the nature of this program is so covert, that cover must be maintained at all costs. And so this is why you see kind of this profile of the people that are targeting you. They do not fit one particular profile. If you're in corporate America right now, I guarantee you're going to get corporate gang stalkers. And that is the whole point of it, that they have people in all levels of society, all ethnicities and socioeconomic backgrounds, and they can activate them one by one and group by group wherever you are in the country. And unfortunately, if you're on the wrong side of that, you have access to none of those resources, and you are looked at as an outcast and an outsider and someone who just can't be part of it.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all of this, Bryan. And there's so much more that we could talk about, but at this time, I'd like to go ahead, since it is getting late, go ahead and bring in the callers so that they can ask their questions. I'm sure they have, many are chomping at the bit to ask you some things. So I appreciate your sharing, and these are, I guess, and I try to bring in foundational questions that we have wondered over the years, and you've answered all of them very well, and we appreciate the information you provided. So I'm going to go ahead at this time and switch modes here so that we can bring in the callers so that they can ask you questions if you have time.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to answer everyone's questions.
Okay, 1 second, please. Okay, looks like...
Hello?
Okay, we're at a mode now, guys, where you can, everyone's muted at the moment. However, you can self-unmute if you have a question for Bryan. Bryan, if you could start 6 on your phone, we'd like to have you unmuted at this time.
Derek, I have a question for Bryan.
Okay, hold on 1 minute, please. Let's get Bryan here first.
Okay.
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, there he is. Okay, now several of you are unmuted, so let's try to do this one at a time. And I heard Barb first. And well, go ahead. Who is that?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, which one of us do you want to go first? How about I go first?
Okay, go ahead. Is that Greg?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, Greg.
Okay. There's a few questions that I have. These people that are doing this, gang stalking, they're doing it on the pretense of that we're criminals, correct?
Correct. Really quickly, yes, that is the premise that they use to assassinate your character amongst gang stalkers. Usually there's no actual crime that's been committed, so you're not in fact criminals, but yes, that is the lie that's told.
Well, no, I know I'm not a criminal, but that's how they get them to do what they're doing.
Correct, yes. Normally there is part of the character assassination campaign that's run. There are lies, there are rumors that are spread about the targeted individual. And so in relation to the TI, all sorts of stuff is said about them. In every case, it's never true. So I can testify as a gang stalker on that side of it that all of the gang stalkers know it's not true. But it is used to generally degrade the character of the TI so that they're looked at, in general as a scumbag. You're absolutely right.
Okay. All right. And is there a production team that is in charge of that?
Absolutely, yeah. There is a command and control structure that is in charge of normally a targeted individual. So any elements of the program that need to be run in relation to that TI will be coordinated by a supervisor. And the supervisor will work with people that are in control of the technology on one side and then the organized stalking or the street theater on the other side. So you do have a very stringent command and control structure. The one that I was a part of course, involved SIS and SIS exclusively. But I have heard from others in general knowledge of the program that's being run around. This could involve people in local and state police as well as what I would call intelligence operatives or assets. They are private corporations that do stuff like talent agencies, recognizing talent, logistics specialists, technology specialists, and then coordination specialists.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thanks for
audio and visual production.
Nope. Let somebody else ask.
Okay.
I have a question. First, I want to say one thing about thank you very much. I want to say thank you very much first.
Okay, hold on. Barbara's asking a question. You can go next. Okay.
Okay,
please,
so first thing, I just wanted to make one mention of something I see happening up here, and it has to do with the police stations here are now putting in mental wings for the mentally handicapped instead of private institutions or anything like that. I don't know if that's happening anywhere else, but that was very creepy to me. In the major police stations, they are putting in mental wings. So they will be in charge, more or less, is what I'm saying.
I haven't heard that.
That's very scary. The question I wanted to ask is with the DNA, when you have somebody's DNA, you can then realize the tendencies they have towards certain diseases. Like Brad Pitt's wife went and had her breasts removed because she had a tendency toward a certain breast cancer. With this knowledge, do you have any idea whether they're planning or already are, how do I want to say this, stirring up that particular tendency and creating that particular disease in that person?
Well, thank you. That was a great question, and thank you for the info concerning the mental wings and the police station. Absolutely, because that is exactly the pretext that they use a lot of times to get the excuse to target individuals is, obviously coming up with a false psychological diagnosis. So thank you for that. The DNA...
That's where I live. That's where it's happening.
Okay, great. Thank you. As far as the DNA goes, in principle, in theory, what you're saying is absolutely correct. Frequencies can be used to manipulate someone's DNA and then help to bring about what is a otherwise natural tendency within their genetics. So I can confirm that that's true, and I can confirm that within the scientific research community, that's being done right now. There's DNA-based research that's being done normally to cure diseases, obviously, but if it can be done to cure diseases, then certainly someone with more nefarious goals in mind could use it to engineer diseases and to bring things about. So that is absolutely a major concern, and I think that's one of the reasons we have to get a hold on the entire research and development apparatus of this country, the entire program, the way things are done in secret, and scientific advancements are siphoned off for military and intelligence purposes first, and then everybody else gets them. And the problem with that is exactly what you said.
Isn't being done yet?
Not that I know specifically, no. I cannot say that I have direct knowledge of that. What I can say, though, is that Amazon has billions and billions of dollars invested in a program that is used to study just those things. So if we wanted to find out who might have that knowledge, Amazon might be a good place to start.
Thank you.
Okay, we have to move on to the next caller.
Thanks so much for all your phone calls and your tapes and being here tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next caller, please.
Can you give us the names of your supervisors?
I have a question.
Okay, someone's asking a question. Go ahead, whoever that is.
Eric, which one of us can ask a question? You're going to have to pick us. There's a bunch of us that want to talk.
Okay, well, you can go ahead, Cece, since you're talking.
Okay. Bryan, I think you indicated that they won't hurt us physically or vandalize or sabotage our property, but I've had all of the above. I've literally been systematically maimed through workers' comp medical procedures. My entire back, my spinal column, from my skull all the way down to my tailbone has been sabotaged. I was, in fact, at a third lumbar ESI procedure, I was brutally forced under anesthesia, screaming for the doctor to stop, and when I woke up, my entire back had been maimed. Muscles were pulled off my back. I had injections throughout my back, my neck, my shoulders, injections into my liver, into my esophagus, all the way, I mean, prolific damage. I'm now disabled. So is that part of the military government experimentation, or was I placed there? Do you think, can corporations like insurance carriers or employers place their people into these programs?
Absolutely, yes. And Cece, I'm very sorry to hear about your condition and everything that happened to you. That is horrible, and I can't imagine the pain that you're in. And I do want to just clarify in terms of the hands-off policy, I am in no way suggesting that these people do not harm people physically. I'm speaking about obviously what is a general rule and a general outline that people follow. With specific people, they could very well cross lines and borders and do that sort of thing. In terms of the medical, this was done under surgery, so it could be that the doctors you were under the care of were very much not concerned at all with your well-being. It sounds like they really messed up the surgery, and when you woke up, you were worse off.
Intentional. This happened over a period of a year and a half, and it just kept getting worse, and I couldn't figure out why I kept getting worse until the last lumbar epidural, which was the third one. Even the physical therapist maimed me, but I had already filed a complaint at the California Physical Therapy Board, which was completely treated with disregard and disrespect. So I know that the state of California is involved in my stalking and the crimes that have befallen me. But I'm also hit with directed energy weapons. I get the dream manipulation, the dream interrogation. By the way, the dream interrogation has been a lot about my medical history. Have I ever hurt my back before? How I was hurt at work. So that's why either they want me to believe that my employer and the defense in my workers' comp claim is behind this, or I don't know what, because it sure seems like that's what they want me to believe. So I'm going with it, although I am a whistleblower and I blew the whistle on a previous employer a few years ago as well, and he told me that he had friends in high places that could make my life very difficult. And shortly thereafter, bizarre things started happening at my home, and at other places of employment. And that was before I ever got injured at work. But I don't know. I often say, God, I hope you don't let me die before I know who has done this, who is behind all of this garbage. So anyway, I believe that my targeting is corporate driven, and we know that
makes sense. Yes,
and we know that the United States is a corporatocracy. So it makes sense. And you say that Amazon, what do? They offer up some of their employees as part of the protocol or the programs?
Absolutely. Yeah, they actually have. They have dedicated entire buildings for the purposes of experimenting on their own employees and SIS employees. But absolutely what you were saying in terms of California officials and them being involved, those are exactly the people that would be in the program in place to mess with a targeted individual like yourself. So that definitely makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Stacey, for your comments. Next caller, please.
Bryan, I'd like to know if you could name your supervisor and the other guilty parties.
Absolutely. You want my supervisor's name and guilty parties? Is that what you said?
Yeah, your supervisor.
Yeah, there are. Most of these names are actually available, but I will go ahead and name some of the people in SIS. Zimmerman, Brenninger, Venturini. CEO is John Spisak.
In what capacity?
S-P-E-S-A-K. S-P-E-S-A-K, John Spisak. And the command and control structure is such. There is a Dennis P. Hatton that is watch commander. that I worked under, the command and control structure is such that the direct supervisor, is contingent upon your assignment. And this is one of the ways that I think is an interesting point with how they kind of compartmentalize the programs within SIS and companies like this so that other people don't find out about it. There is not a company-wide command and control structure. There is a assignment-specific command and control structure so that when you are assigned to a specific assignment, you have an immediate supervisor that you report to, and that's it. And so the one supervisor, for example, might only be overseeing 2, 3, 4, 5 security specialists at a time. And so you have all these little cells within the company that are completely cut off from each other so that the lines of communication and information do not flow between different aspects of the company so that they can compartmentalize and keep classification on certain information that they don't want getting out. So I worked for many different people. I was assigned to many different assignments. But that was a very good question because it shows how it is organized.
Do you have any documentation? Or
I have a couple of questions. I just want to say thank you for your courage, first and foremost. Number one, you were talking about how they tried to make everybody into being a scumbag, so to speak. And but most of the people I've spoken with are women, and there's women that are beautiful and attractive. There's women that could be your grandmother. And you say they try to make everybody, come up with some stories or whatever. How do they hurt, like, women and grandmothers and kill people's pets?
Isn't that horrible? Yeah. Well, first, thank you for your kind words. And I do want to say that I have heard estimates up to 70-75% of targeted individuals are, in fact, women. And it absolutely breaks my heart because I can't understand the mentality of men or women as well that would actually prey on and torture and abuse a woman, a single woman. It's just horrible. These people have children, and you're absolutely right. They're tearing families apart. They're doing it to children as well. It's completely out of control. But in terms of smear campaigns, character assassination, what they have is thugs, and perhaps, there are elements of this that even I'm not aware of. But I am aware, for example, that my life has been threatened. I am aware that people are killed within this program all the time, and they bring in highly trained specialists to do that. They usually have intelligence connections. So in terms of the real dirty work that's done, there are people within the program that are capable of doing that, and they do it because they get paid a lot of money, and they do it because they have been guaranteed by the higher-ups in the program that they're going to get away from it. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd just like to say if you guys could keep your questions to 1 or 2, and keep them brief, please.
I have a question.
We have lots of people waiting to talk. I think Peter was talking first, and you can go next.
Okay. Thank you.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Go ahead, Peter. You have a question? Yes.
Okay. All right, so what I'm curious about is, number one, Lockheed Martin's a big corporation there that works with the government. Are they the ones running this?
Not to my knowledge, no. In fact, I do not have any direct evidence of Lockheed Martin based on the social engineering program that I have direct knowledge of in Seattle, Washington. What I can speak to is the involvement of defense contractors in general. I have heard, of course, through people like Karen Stewart, that Lockheed Martin does employ organized stalkers of their own in 47 of the 50 states. I have not been able to independently verify that with my sources, but it certainly makes sense. What I do know for a fact is, of course, defense contractors are involved in the research and development of the technology going back decades. And if anybody wants to learn more, I would suggest looking up patents into things like microwave auditory effect, the voice-to-skull, the behavior modification, frequency weapons, directed energy weapons. Go back to the work of Nikola Tesla and look on down the line throughout history to see who the scientists were that were working on this, and then see the connections that they had to certain aspects of the military-industrial complex of our country. So defense contractors are involved. I am sorry, though, I don't have direct knowledge of Lockheed Martin.
Right. Now when you talk about, the pulses or the pulse modulation that affects the population, that's either called brain entrainment or frequency following. All right. Are you aware of any antenna arrays that are doing the broadcasting?
This is interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. It is one of the most classified aspects of the technology in terms of my knowledge of it and the average security specialist knowledge of it. You have things broken down basically into a technical department and what I would call a personnel department. Personnel handles the actual monitoring of the technology and the gang stalking. You then have the technical side that monitors the infrastructure, the actual building of devices, antennas, cell phones, towers. So I do not have direct knowledge of that. But I do know that it does utilize antennas, radar, and cell phone towers. And I think radar, I know for a fact, is being used for military bases. I know some of the antennas are being camouflaged within buildings, other structures. They have entire walls and structures built around them just to hide the existence of the antenna. So you can see the effort that goes into covering up the locations of them. And as a result, they're the most classified part of the program. And I do not know any specifics on that other than they're out there and they are everywhere already all over the United States because this system is operational countrywide.
Okay, next question, please.
I'm an electronic engineer. And I just wanted to let you know that I have a countermeasure for technology like that, and it breaks down a biorelevant feedback loop. And I've actually cured or helped over 130 people. And it's a countermeasure I give out for free if you happen to need it.
Wonderful. Yes, yeah. And in fact, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I would love to talk with you more. What was your name again?
David Case. And if you want my phone number, you got a pen real quick?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
573-300-1579. And what you were talking about, I'll say that one more time, 573-300-1579. And the way you were describing, they're setting up a standing wave with the DNA and then probably doing slight variations in the phasing. And I noticed that tinnitus is pulse code modulation. And that's what my CD has on it, is many forms of pulse code modulation. And I invented it with two 555 oscillator chips. And it makes a sound that has never existed before, and it confuses their technology and breaks down that phase-locked loop that you were talking about.
That is brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much, David. That's exactly what we need is electrical engineers like yourself coming up with stuff like this. It's the only hope we have because right now there aren't many defenses against the technology. So you just made my day. Thank you very much. I'd love to try it and see if it really works, and we need more of it for sure.
Okay, great. And who was that had the question?
I have a question. This is Kathy from Arizona.
Oh, Kathy, hi. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, Derek. My question to you, and thank you very much, Bryan, for doing this. I really appreciate it. Have you ever heard of the terms AMP project and Rubicon project?
I'm sorry, what was the second one?
AMP project and Rubicon project.
Yes, I have heard of them. I am not an expert or have any in-depth knowledge at all.
Okay, because I keep getting those terms sent to me. And like the other day, I woke up and my front teeth were gone.
Oh, no.
You know, just all kinds of weird stuff's been happening lately. You know, I get a field of daisies showing up on my iPhone. You know, just stuff like that. And
absolutely, yeah.
If I lisp, it's because I haven't had my teeth fixed yet. But
there you go.
Yeah, I've been in this program since 2006, and I've been able to survive it because I sort of learned about it very early on by Stop It in Europe. So I was able to get some knowledge. So I have not ever been accused of being insane or anything like that. But, you know, I have had the police department and so forth treat me in a very weird manner. But anyhow, I just wanted to know if you were familiar with those terms, and how about people cooker?
No, yeah, other than general terms, I am not familiar with that specifically having to do with this, but hang in there. It's great you've been able to endure this long. I can't imagine. I hear from people all the time, 10, 20 years, they've been targeted individuals, and I can't imagine. So just stay strong, and I'm hoping we can somehow make some progress and get some relief for people out there.
Okay, more questions?
I have a question.
I've got a question.
Okay, hold on.
I have a question, too.
She spoke first, and then you guys can go next. Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to know, I've kind of come to realize recently, I know that UPS is involved myself.
Okay, we can't hear you. Can you speak up a little bit or speak directly into the mic?
Yes.
That's better. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. What do you know about the involvement with UPS? Do you know much about that?
I do not, other than I have heard that. I do know that the connections between the program participants are usually at the corporate level. So we're talking about the board of directors, we're talking about the CEO, chief financial officer, these types of people. I do know, I can't speak generally on specifics of the program, that what is done within private corporations, because it is so easy to protect proprietary information, they're able to siphon off a part of their company, and then within that department that is highly insulated from the rest of the company, they will have an aspect of their company cooperating with the program at large. And then it is from that hub within the company that they relegate resources that could help the overall program. And so one thing that some people have a hard time figuring out is, how are all these people involved? And oftentimes it's not as many as it seems. It's key companies and key departments within different locations that can mobilize information or vehicles or personnel very, very quickly to respond to the needs of the program. And I have heard UPS, but I have no direct knowledge of that.
Okay, thank you for your question. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Brian, this is Alec Rafter. I've got a couple of questions.
Hey, Alec.
Hi, how are you? On the some of your videos or your podcast, you mentioned that sci-fi is what we call V2K. You mentioned that the artificial telepathy people are connected to hive mind. With remote neural monitoring, that's what we call the process of them hearing our thoughts and looking through our eyes. I want to know what you call it. And my last question is, do you have any documents that you could put online regarding this program that we could all access?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Alec. Remote neural monitoring, in terms of the terms that I call it, much of it is slang derived from security industry specialists, so it's kind of like a street-level slang that we use for it: hive mind, voice to skull, remote neural monitoring. There's some rather coarse terms that we use as well that are very descriptive but not very scientific. But the remote neural monitoring is one that is, I think, the main feature of it. That they are able to get the information from people. And so that is the aspect, I think, that is going to be used very covertly against everyone in the country, to read people's thoughts, to see what they are thinking, and then determine whether or not they're a threat to the power establishment or to the individual motivations of companies or local officials or whatever it might be. Also, thank you for the information. I spoke with you earlier, and I really appreciate your help on that. In terms of documents, I do. I also have people that I am in contact with within the industry, potential allies that are sympathetic to our cause and are behind the scenes waiting for the right moment, that are behind the scenes hoping that the general public will become more aware of this issue and will give them the impetus that they need to start to move behind the scenes to make progress against it. There are a lot of people that are against this program and that support TIs, but they are in highly, highly classified positions. They are threatened if they speak out, and they also, of course, have family and friends to think about. So we do have allies there, and I do have documentation, and I am planning on releasing it. I do not know when, because I'm also planning legal proceedings against the federal government and possibly my former employer, DESC, and Amazon, and my lawyer is advising me at this point not to release that, but depending on how that goes, very soon I may be able to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And thanks, Alec. Hi, Alec. Okay. More questions for Bryan?
Hey, Bryan. I have a question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So I guess the lady went first. Okay. Who's there? What's your question?
Me? Yeah, it's me. Derek, it's Carrie. I had a question. Do you see yourself as stepping up and testifying for some of the TIs that are gathering evidence to go to court?
Absolutely, yes. I would be willing to help anyone that is bringing legal proceedings against the program or against the government. That is my main goal in coming forward, is to attack this from a legal perspective, and I would be happy to lend my testimony or my efforts to anyone that's pursuing that goal.
Okay, one other thing really quick. Are you a victim of V2K?
Yes, I am. I am a victim of V2K, emotional, the works. I have got a beta version, I believe, of what is going to be rolled out against TIs in the next couple of years. My company was involved in a research development program of kind of the next generation of voice-to-skull and the frequency weaponry. And because I knew these people and I decided to blow the whistle on them, they gave me the most nasty version of it. It is highly, highly advanced. It's one of the reasons I've had a lot of problems getting relief myself, is because I'm dealing with something that is, I think only the military would have and know about in terms of its advanced state. So yes, I am getting all of it 24 hours a day. I'm currently homeless. I've tried 5 other jobs since I resigned from SIS, and I'm under constant torture, surveillance, and gang stalking 24 hours a day.
Well, what sort of things are you getting, V2K? What kind of things are they telling you?
That is interesting. The main one that they repeat all the time is, please be quiet, in not so nice terms, or we're going to kill you. They tell me that everybody is against me. They tell me all sorts of stuff. One of the people, the lady that mentioned that the state of California was involved with her medical problems where she messed up her back, and the voice of skull was telling her that it was her corporation or the company she was working for. I hope I get that right. But that's what they do. They beam into people like me's heads all sorts of stuff to try to turn people against each other, to turn companies against each other, individuals against each other. And so what they do to me, I think, is very similar to what I've heard from a lot of TIs. They'll turn TIs against their family. They'll turn family members against TIs, for example, and coworkers, and that's what they're doing with me. They're trying to manipulate me. They're trying to turn me against former employees, employers, people I used to work with, family members, friends, people I'm meeting online, and it's just a constant 24/7 back and forth. Don't trust this person. Do trust that person. Don't trust this person. Do trust that person. Don't you dare try to work again or we're going to kill you. Don't you dare try to contact this person or we're going to kill you. Don't do this or we're going to slander you and smear all sorts of stuff all over the papers. We are very disappointed in what you decided to do. They have been sending stuff into my dreams as well. It's constant 24/7, and luckily because of my training, because I know all aspects are technology-induced, and because I have a bit of training in gang stalking as well, my response to it is always, number one, I know who it's coming from. I know who these people are, so I'm not listening to any of it. I go out of my way to judge things for myself and come to my own decisions. And then when it comes to gang stalkers, I just gang stalk them back. I'm only one man out here, but I try to take them on and fight fire with fire and stand my ground and just at least try to maintain the status quo so I don't slip further down into the darkness, so to speak, where they're trying to put me.
Okay, guys. As Bryan kind of hold on, Dutch. Part of this podcast is to help Bryan because he's living in his car, and we are trying to raise a few funds for him. So, if those of you that can, if you could go to his website, which is gangstalkerwars.com. and scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a PayPal donation. If you could drop him a few bucks, that would be great. That would help him because he's trying to relocate from the area that he's in because it's heavily infested, and they're trying to intimidate him, and he's already unsure. At least my impression is he's unsure of the situation, and he's feeling more closed in every day and threatened. So he does need to relocate from his location, and hopefully we can find him someplace where he will be in shelter. Someone has a home. He has one offer already, but, we'll see what happens. But he needs to be indoors somewhere and not, being in his car and being vulnerable and having to keep, driving and moving and running from these guys and evading them. So he needs a place of safety.
Okay. Derek, this is Greg. Before I got cut off earlier, I was going to say that if he ever comes to Kansas City, he can stay here for a while.
Great. Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that.
No, I mean that. I do have a RV that's parked at RV Park, where I store it at, but we can easily move it to an RV park, and you can stay in that.
Okay. Well, that's a thought.
Yeah.
Okay. He'll be waiting.
Derek.
Yeah.
Dutch, let him know, too, I offered that he can come to my place. I'm in Redding. I'm kind of close to where he's at. If he's up, in Washington or Oregon, I live in Redding. He's welcome to my place to stay. I wanted to ask him a question. Mine seems a little different than the usual pattern. I get clicks every day if I move an arm, if I move a leg, if a truck drives by, if a car drives by, if a guy goes by in a wheelchair to the mailbox, it clicks. It breaks a beam or a wave of some sort. So I'm under 24/7 surveillance. No matter which room I go in, click. Shut the door. There's a click against the door so they know when I open that door that I'm going out that door. Is that a new technique that they're going to start using soon, or is that an old technique? Do you know anything about that? And I'm a twin, too. I'm the last one of the family, but so do you know anything if that's a new technique or an old technique? But it's been 18 years for me, and they haven't stopped the click sounds. I've got them recorded on DVD, me pointing them out. There's one there, there's one there, there's one there. So is that something you're aware of that is used commonly on a lot of individuals, or is it rare? Can you come back?
Thanks for your question.
Yeah, absolutely. The clicks are something that I am familiar with. They are not integrated in the version of the technology that I was dealing with in Seattle, and they have not been used against me. But the utilizations of sounds like that could be a marker within the program, oftentimes, that you're getting on your end. Oftentimes that's for organizational purposes on the part of the people that are running the technology. I know sounds are inserted for that. And it could also just be random clicks that are associated with a part of what you're getting. But it is interesting that you're a twin, and I wanted to comment on that because the DNA and genetic aspect of this is very, very important to these people. And part of the social engineering program that I have direct knowledge of is all about genetics and the modeling or the engineering of the future of human genetics and trying to push humanity in a certain direction. They're very interested in strong genetic people that are immune to diseases, and twins, of course, if anybody looks it up, I won't get into it now, but are unique in so many different ways. It is one of those weird parts of nature that these people are very fascinated in and can lead to advancements in science and technology and all sorts of other things. So yeah, the fact that you're a twin really jumps out at me, and they are very, very interested in twins. I do know that.
Yeah, I'm Lithuanian, German descent, Lithuanian. I've never really been sick in my life. I've been injured a lot. I heal very quickly. And so I know I've been blessed with healing, but now they've taken some of that away. I still heal pretty fast, but they put holes in my testicle. I don't know if they inserted something. They're always messing around there. I don't know if it's removing sperm or to use for something else. They put holes in the bottom of my feet, 10 on each bottom of each foot, 10 or 12 pus seals on the bottom of each foot and one on each knee. And they use those areas quite often, daily, 24/7. I just have an idea that they're removing sperm from me because of my health. I'm 74, and no one ever that I'm 74. They think I'm about 50.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, you're obviously very healthy, and they would be very interested in that, especially because you're able to heal quickly. Also, genetics. I know there was a lot of interest in German, Czechoslovakian, Poland, Eastern Europe, and Europe was something that was generally of interest to the people in the program as well. So, yeah, thank you for that.
I got one more question. Hang on.
I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, Bryan, you keep talking social engineering. It appears to me that the social engineering that they're bringing in is pure hate. It's pure hate. They're doing things to individuals around you, neighbors, family members. What kind of social engineering are they trying to attain?
Absolutely. Very good question, and you're absolutely right. It is pure hate. These people have no regard for common human decency. They have no regard for the value of the individual life of the human being. The overall goals of the social engineering program, as I just mentioned, eugenics plays a big part of this. When I mean social engineering, they are engineering society, and they are engineering social aspects of society. So they want to engineer the actual human makeup of society itself. They want to engineer the actual organization of society in terms of a hierarchy of power and companies, and then they want to engineer the individuals themselves. And so what their vision is total control. It's very much what many people have heard in terms of predictions of the future, only this is exactly how they're going to do it. They are collecting sperm and DNA from people. They are actively trying to I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback on the line here. But they are actually trying to engineer certain genetic stock to go forward into the future so that we have from their perspective, a healthier humanity. What it is eugenics. What it is racism. What it is total and complete control of every individual in society for the purposes of being able to dominate over them and the purposes of being able to control every aspect of their life. And their attitude towards it is that the world is a video game, and they're just sitting back messing with real people's lives from the point of view of people that don't care at all. It's sick, it's disgusting, it's absolutely evil, it's unconstitutional, it's illegal, and it needs to be stopped immediately because we are all in grave danger because we live under these people. We're in a country where these people are in power, and it has to be stopped.
Okay, Bryan, it's hold on just a minute, please. Bryan, it is a little bit after 9 where you are, and how much time would you say we have?
I can go another 10 minutes or so.
Hey, Derek?
Okay, guys, about 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah, who has a question?
From Puerto Rico, I wanted to ask you if why are a lot of people moving from islands back to the state right now? Can they move people in mass?
That's a very interesting question. Or go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because Puerto Rico right now, we're having like an economy situation. Like everybody's leaving the island. And I've been stuck from Florida to Puerto Rico to Panama to Orlando. And everywhere I go, you find people that they're moving from one side to another, even at church.
Yeah, that is very interesting, and that could be an element of social engineering because what they're doing is they're maneuvering people for whatever is to come. They want the demographics they want in each population, in each area, not only of America but the world. And I know it's been described to me like Seattle is often described as, bringing people together 2 by 2 as if they were boarding the ark. And what they mean by that, like the ark that Noah got on for the flood, what they mean is an ark in terms of genetics and social engineering going forward, that this is kind of the base foundation from which all of society will be built in the future. It's their vision of the future. And so what they're doing is they're starting it out locally, and they're getting total control of a certain area, certain city, whatever it is, and then they are expanding outwards. And I think one by one, city by city, country by country, they plan to roll this thing out across the world eventually. And the ethnic makeup of the population itself, the genetic makeup of the population itself, health-wise, immunity to certain diseases. This is exactly what these people are interested in. And the implications of that is they know something's coming that I don't. I have no direct knowledge of that, but this is exactly the context within which these people are operating.
I've got a question.
Yeah, I know what's coming.
Okay.
Can I say
I have
something?
a question. Okay.
I have a question too.
And I have a question too.
Okay. I have a short question. All right. Go on. Go ahead with the short question. Make it quick.
Okay. When you said that people were being abducted to Seattle, can you tell me how that was accomplished?
Absolutely, yes. I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. If you want a detailed description, please go to gangstalkerwars.com, click on menu, and click on 157 Roy Street. There's a detailed article about it. What is happening is targeted individuals, once they are isolated, once they have no more family and friends, once the organized stalking has cut them off from being able to make a living and they have no resources, with the cooperation of companies, property management companies like Graystar, they are forced out of their homes. Oftentimes there's a lot of dirty tricks being played by city councils and zoning and real estate lawyers and attorneys that are working against these people. They get them out of their homes, they get them out of their apartments, and they are under the influence of hive mind voice-to-skull technology. The hive mind and voice-to-skull technology is used to influence their decision-making once they have no more resources left. And I am aware, in the case of going to Seattle, the homeless people there are brought there by being told and manipulated to buy a Greyhound bus ticket and go somewhere. And so if, let's say they have $500 left in their accounts and they got no home and they've been completely isolated by the gang stalking voice-to-skull program, they will be influenced by the technology itself to buy a ticket, get on a Greyhound bus, and go to Seattle, take a ride to Seattle. While they were on that Greyhound bus, there is a group of thugs that includes every single person on the bus. They work for the program. They work for people like private security, intelligence services, and ex-military to completely isolate this individual. While on the bus, they are robbed, they are drugged, they have false confessions are beaten out of them. And the reason they do this is so if the person ever thinks about going to the police, they're told the false confessions are going to be used against you in a court of law and you're going to jail. They are driven to Seattle, and on the Greyhound bus, they are then dropped off, completely drugged, completely disoriented, oftentimes starving. They have no money. They're robbed. They no longer have a driver's license, Social Security, credit card. That's why I'm blowing the whistle on this. These people need our help. They are dropped off on the side of the road outside the city of Seattle in the freezing cold and rain, and they are forced to walk into the city of Seattle. Once they get to Seattle, they are greeted by street theater and organized stalkers who are on the streets of Seattle, hurl insults at them, generally psychologically torture them until they make their way, with the assistance of Voice-to-Skull and people on the street, to DESC, the Downtown Emergency Service Center in downtown Seattle, 505 3rd Avenue, Seattle, Washington, 98104. And they are given shelter in that homeless shelter where they are experimented on mercilessly with voice-to-skull behavior modification technology. They have hive mind aspects of voice-to-skull tested on them where they participate in street theater with other people in the general area. 20, 30, 100 people sometimes are under the influence of this technology to practice tactics and protocol of hive mind utilization of the technology for organized stalking that will eventually be used outside of Seattle against American people all over the country, individuals like you and me. And so then they're kept in this homeless shelter, and this is the pool of people, these homeless people that have been abducted from all over the country. This is the pool from which SIS selects its low-level security guards to then go and man a podium in an Amazon-owned building where voice-to-skull hive mind technology is used to experiment on them while at work, usually to fine-tune the visual aspect of the technology so that they can use it for things like facial recognition of high-placed corporate power figures within corporations, to identify facial features, to read computer screens from across the room, to read what is on someone's cell phone, and to read documents they may be carrying. And this is all done against the will of this test subject. Our fellow human beings are being experimented on by these people.